What's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and we are back. Brave Jayhawk and I are back to be doing the NCAA Survivor Pool March Madness. Um, and this is, well, I'll tell you who I'm going to dedicate this one to. Well, my mom just passed a week or so ago. Uh, we'll dedicate this to her, but also we're going to dedicate this to my son, who's perfectly healthy. But this is why we're doing this. So, a couple of things I tell my son. Uh, I've told him this since he's 1 year old, or since he can understand it. I said the brain is like any other organism. Okay, unless you use it every day, it's going to atrophy. And I think of this when I get older. And listen, when you get older, you don't go to school anymore. You tend to not learn stuff anymore. So you have to continue to make sure your brain works. And this puzzle that we're going to go over is something that requires your brain to operate. Okay. The second thing about this is that my son is also he's a second semester first year law student now, and one of the things that you have to do to get into law school is take the LSAT. And there's a whole section on the LSAT called logic games. And what logic games are basically all those things you grew up with. Jim was 8 years older than Bill was 2 years
Yeah.
before Jim was one. And Jim is 6 feet tall. Bob is 8 feet tall. How do you put this 12 people into a 30-person restaurant without Jim getting mad at this? Okay. That's what this thing is. Okay. March Madness Survivor. Okay. So I'm going to share. Obviously, this is literally the greatest thing that I've seen. Okay. This is something that Brave Jayhawk created. And
I sure hope it's right. I checked twice. I know I
yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
that earlier, but if I hope I didn't
So
code any of
what's
this wrong.
cool about this format, okay, of Survivor? A couple of things. Number one, like there are ways to just kind of box yourself into a corner where you have no chance to win, and the only person you will have to blame for that is yourself. Okay,
Correct.
that's
Mhm.
one thing. The second thing is, unlike Survivor football, okay, like if you want to play Survivor football and not plan out, and you want to just fire off whatever it is, you can rest assured that, okay, after 6 or 7 weeks of playing bad, you're always going to at least have options to bail yourself out. Like I'll play the big favorites early, and then I'll just figure it out later. But it doesn't work that way in this format. Like in this format, you can't do that because you might actually have no one left to play, regardless of whether you even willing to take a 15 seed. Okay,
And
whatever.
let me jump in there off that 15 seed comment. So the first thing I want to comment on is I'm actually not. Eric already knows I'm not playing this year. Um, my brain's just really not in it. I know that sounds silly, but the first year I played this, my partner and I made a mistake in our strategy. And
Yeah,
if we
it's
did what we
ridiculous,
intended to
man.
do, we would have won. We didn't box ourselves out, but
Okay.
our strategy meant one going a certain direction. And we had two picks one week and we put them on the wrong entries. We would have, it was the year like Kentucky was 50% to win the whole thing. We would have chopped it like 3 or 4 ways for like 100. Unfortunately, that not $100, $100,000. But I still wanted to do this with Eric and you guys because it's a very fun puzzle, and
Yes.
there's a lot of brain stimulation, but there's also a lot of brain fry. So
Oh,
I created this
it's
many
ridiculous.
years ago. This is one of those pools where you have to step up, away from it at times because
It's
if you just start
ridiculous.
you just have to. So that's why I got this color coding thing to
Well,
help visualize it a little bit better. But and then one comment on that 15C comment you made. I played in a pool 2 years ago, and it was the year that Princeton made the Sweet 16.
mhm.
And I'll go into my strategy later on these, but I wanted to play one pool that year where you didn't have to make your pick until any time during that day.
Oh, we're going to talk about that variation in a minute. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was unbelievable what happened. It was a great setup. The first game of the day was Alabama versus San Diego State, and this was a very very important game because most people had already taken a lot of people had already taken San Diego State, and then a bunch of people took them. I want to get this right. No, a bunch of people had already taken them, so no one was going to take them against Alabama. But what happened was, well, San Diego State won, and what people forgot to do, I think it was like there were like 80 something people left. 26 people
Right.
did not change their pick. They took Creighton over Princeton. but they'd also already taken San Diego State in a prior round. So they boxed themselves out. They had time to switch their pick, plenty of time, but they didn't do it. And 26 people boxed themselves out by not getting off of Creighton, because Creighton was going to, if Creighton wins, yeah, they win, but now they don't have a team to pick from that top left region, and they boxed themselves out.
All right,
it was pretty amazing.
Let's step back for a second, okay? So the way these pools work, okay, now some pools are different, but this is where we're going to operate on, okay? Is that you have to make one pick per day to start off with. So you have to make one pick Thursday, that's round of 64, one pick Friday, also round of 64. Then you have to make one pick Saturday, round of 32, one pick Sunday, round of 32. Then the following Thursday and Friday, you have to pick one pick from the Sweet 16, and then Friday, another pick from the Sweet 16. Then what most pools do, okay, and this is the only way you could possibly do this, is for the final 8, okay, you have to make 2 picks, but they don't require you to pick one Saturday and one Sunday, okay? You could pick 2 of them on Saturday if you want, or 2 of them on Sunday if you want. Okay, now I think that's what most of my pools operate. Otherwise, it's literally like impossible. Okay.
I've actually done both.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
So what you need to be thinking about, first of all, like Survivor football, we are presuming that we need to get to the end, okay, and all the way to the end. And by the way, to flex a little bit, I did win mine last year. Okay, I finally did it. I took me 4 years, 3 years in a row. I either boxed myself out or did something stupid, and last year I almost got in a huge fight with my wife because of how much I focused on this while we were away on vacation. Okay, because I didn't want. Listen, losing is fine, but I didn't want to just lose because I screwed up. Okay.
Yeah, it's so easy to do it. We'll talk more about it a little bit.
So what these colors are really important for, presuming they're right, is it indicates when these games are, because you have to think of it this way. Now, I don't want to fry your brains too much, but if you need to make a pick like every week, imagine if you just play around or whatever, and then it turns out that you have 2 teams that you've already used playing against each other in the final 8. And you're like, oh, no big deal. Well, try to figure out how you can win if that's the case. Because you can't pick from that game. And then if you pick from the game that's going against them, then you'll be boxed out of the next round.
The next round, yeah.
Right? So you can't have 2 teams playing each other in the final 8. Okay, so you've got to spread the geography, spread the days, and just make sure that you do not have that type of situation. And
but what ends up happening is you still can't. You could play perfect,
yeah,
and still get boxed out.
Yes, that's right.
The deeper you get into this, not only do you need to win your game, you need the team that you already picked to lose.
That's right.
Otherwise, you get boxed out.
You have action when you get to the final 16, especially certainly the final 8, but you have action every game. You need to basically go 8 for 8 at the end, whether it be the 4 teams you pick and the 4 teams you need to root for on the other side, right? Or whatever. But
even if you still get boxed out, that doesn't mean you still can't win.
That's right.
And that's really important too. Is that if you get to the point where you're boxed out, don't quit and give up. Look at everyone else's picks, because if you can advance to the next round. Now, there are some rules where
and then root for a loss.
You can make a pick and they can't. If you can make a pick and they can't, the person who makes a pick might automatically win. But you still can win, or I'm sorry, you can still chop in some cases.
And what's nasty, by the way, about this is you look at these colors and you would think, oh, no big deal. It's all symmetrical. Like you look on the left side, oh, sure, you got two teams playing Thursday, 2 teams playing Friday, 2 teams playing Friday, 2 teams playing Thursday on the left side. You think it's the same on the right side? No. Okay. So like on the right side, you got three of the four regions playing on Friday in the top right, but three of the four regions in the playing Thursday in the bottom right. Okay. So it's hard. Okay. Now we haven't even gotten into what teams to look at yet. But you've got to be able to visualize like keeping your picks away from each other. That's the best way I can kind of describe it. And keeping them away from each other by regions, and keeping them away from each other as far as days. It's really hard.
The most basic way to view this pool is when you pick a team to win, you want them to win, but you want them to immediately lose.
That's
if they
right.
immediately lose, it has the
That's
you
right.
have the like you can never get boxed out if the team you pick to win loses their next game.
So think of it this way. So think of it this way. All right. So before we even get into this, for those of you that have never played this, you probably figure out if you're like a good, just overall gambler, an overall thinker, like what you're kind of looking for. So what you're looking for, we're not even talking about ownership yet, okay? But what you're looking for in general is teams that are favored to win the first game, that are favored to lose the second game. Okay. So without, again, like if I ask my 12-year-old, well, I don't even have a 12-year anymore, what that would mean is, well, probably, what if there's like an 8 seed that's like a 6, 7 point favorite? You know what? Now you're onto something. At least that's the way you should be thinking about it. Okay. Is that pick teams that, just like Survivor, pick teams now that you don't want to use in the future, or you wouldn't want to use in the future. And like you said, if you could pick a team to win round one that's favored to lose round two, that is I don't want to say chalky in a negative way, but that is the mathematically, most efficient way to get your entries going. But before we get into that, one thing that we'll talk about your preferred plays in a minute.
Yeah.
One thing that you were different than me over the we've only done this like a couple of years, you and me doing this pool.
We're on the opposite ends of strategy.
Yeah, so you like, not say like to, but you're not afraid of like burning like a 1 seed,
I like taking underdogs in the second round, basically.
That too. So what you like to do, and this makes sense, is that you're like greedy. Like you don't even want to win. You want to like have like totally like unique paths that no one.
Yeah, there's a lot of chopping in this, and I mean you could have a unique path and still the one I referenced to 2 years ago, there were a lot of upsets. What happened that year? Fairleigh Dickinson as a 16 seed won in the first round, and
Purdue,
that doesn't knock anyone else out. But what happens is, the next round everyone's going to take. Everyone took Florida Atlantic. And so what my partner and I decided is, what? We want Florida Atlantic to make it to the finals. Like that's our bet. Like we can scoop. So we didn't win, but we never picked them. And then the same thing with Princeton plays Missouri. Okay, well we're just gonna, in the second round, we're just gonna hope Princeton beats Missouri. And then even if Missouri wins, that's fine too. We're gonna hope Missouri goes to the finals or the Final Four. So what we decided, even though there were two 10-point spreads in the second round on the left side of the bracket, we picked neither of those games. And the reason we did that is we felt we might be the only person, if Missouri and Florida Atlantic both went to the Final Four, again, on the left side of the bracket, we might be the only ones not boxed out. And that we didn't win, but that was our strategy. Florida Atlantic made it, and Missouri lost in the second round.
So just to throw one variation, so one pool that I'm in, for those of you that remember the football Survivor stuff we do, there's always one pool I refer to every year that's like totally like this ridiculous psycho pool that makes you pick like double picks in 5 and double picks starting in like 9. It's like we have so many people in that they just have to like thrash to get people out of there. Well, the same psycho, okay, for this pool requires us to pick 2 picks Thursday and 2 picks Friday. Okay, that's good luck. So
well, I might want to play that one with my strategy because no way anyone's going to take my path.
Yeah, but that's like everybody basically like I would say a full 20% of the people are boxed out after the first 2 days.
And again, it's not because they did anything wrong. It's because
right.
you have to end up winning not just the games that you pick later on,
Right.
but you need the team you already picked to lose.
Okay, so let's
And there's one other variant that you might play where there's tiebreakers, because again, this thing gets chopped all the time. The tiebreaker format is adding up your seed numbers. So neither of us, I mean, I have never played that, but the reason it's relevant is my strategy is not going to work in that format, because you want to be taking like double digit seed numbers, because the higher your number is, and when you add up all your seed numbers, that's like the tiebreaker. Multiple people make it through. I'm not going to go. That is not going to be part of my strategy at all. If you do something like that, you should be picking like 10s, 11s, and 12s in the first round. Generally.
Now the other thing is that what you can look ahead to, and I'm not going to get into the internals here, is that there are sites and there are look ahead lines that you can find that will show you what the team is relatively likely to be against his next opponent. I know Team Rankings does that. Even maybe DraftKings can do that, and that actually becomes a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I used to use 538, but it's not free this year. So,
yeah,
in those on the spreadsheet you guys are looking on the screen, the red number in column B and V, those are the Ken Palm ratings. Now that's not going to. That doesn't mean that will dictate what the point spread would be between those teams, but it helps give me a visual on an idea, because what for me personally, I don't want to look at a 1 versus like a 6 seed as a possibility and think of it as that, because maybe the 6 seed is a very high rated team and the point spread would be closer than what you might feel 1 versus a 6 would be, or a 1 versus a 12 or something.
All right, so let's look at some stuff. So let's look at. Want to do it by day or by region?
We should do day.
Okay, so when we look at day, so we're looking at all of the greens. I mean, I'll just tell you what I just kind of played. I stayed away from this first. I didn't play the Louisville Creighton. I didn't play either of them, even though, I mean, they're likely to lose the next round. I think that 8-9s might be a little chalky. I don't know. But I did play Texas A&M. A decent amount, actually. I have them as actually not really being even that big of a favorite in the next round. It makes sense,
Yeah.
So I think that the A&M makes some sense. -7, considering that their next game they're probably going to be, if not an underdog, like maybe pick them. I think that's pretty reasonable. I'll do the other greens. I actually played some Texas Tech as well. Just a big favorite in game 1, and they don't rate to be that big of a favorite in game 2. I did play a little bit of both of these others. Like my big kind of I guess stand or whatever is if I play St. John's, take the free square round 1 and then root against them in round 2. I think that could be decent. On the other side, as far as greens, I did not play again the Gonzaga, the 8-9. I try to avoid that if possible, but I did play some Clemson. Again, the 4-5s make sense. Then the other one from the green over here, I did play some UCLA. I did not play any of the 1 seeds this time. I did not play Tennessee. And then on the top right, I have both BYU and Wisconsin. I think both of these teams. I'm not in the same pool, obviously, but yeah. I do like both of these guys. What do you like as far as Thursdays?
There's 3 games I really like, and there's 2 that I really don't.
Okay.
And I like to. I want to talk about the ones I don't like first and why.
Okay.
And I referenced I'm going to reference that pool from a couple of years ago a lot, when Fairleigh Dickinson beat Virginia, whoever they Purdue, and then Princeton beat Missouri.
Yeah.
And you don't know what the upsets are going to be, but you want to look for a team in the first round that is going to be very, very chalky.
Yep.
That is but that is also unlikely to go multiple rounds and then fade that team and hope that they do it. Because if a team, and the best example really for the whole first round is Gonzaga. Gonzaga is very high in the metric numbers. I don't know what the look-ahead spread is against Houston, but I see that they're a 6-point favorite, which is enormous for an 8-9 game.
Yes.
This game is going to be absolutely pounded. It'll be the highest picked of the 8-9 and probably the 7-10, unless the other team that I'm going to say in just a second is higher picked. Because people like, oh, well, I'm going to pick this team because then, they're going to lose the next round to, to the 1 or 2 seed. Gonzaga is not like, some of these other 8-9s don't really apply. Gonzaga is a very high metric rated team. They're only going to be probably, I'm just going to guess here, a 6-point underdog at most to Houston. And if they're if you don't pick, if I don't pick Gonzaga, okay, if Gonzaga loses, it's going to knock a bunch of people out. That's great.
Yep.
If Gonzaga wins, that's also not bad, because if Gonzaga just keeps winning, all the people who pick Gonzaga in the first round are going to eventually be boxed out if Gonzaga were to make the Final Four.
That's right.
And my other favorite one is, and this really helps, is in the same region, is UCLA. I watched 0 seconds of UCLA play this year. I couldn't name one player, and I know their coach is bald. That's as much as I know about UCLA. But they were a 5.5-point favorite in the first round. A lot of people are going to pick them. They'll most likely play Tennessee. Now they won't be. They'll probably be more than a 6-point underdog. I don't know, maybe 8 or 9. But I like to try to play a strategy that could hope to scoop, and not taking any Gonzaga or any UCLA, and those teams making the Sweet 16, Elite 8 is going to box out a ton of people.
I love
so those are my absolute fades. Especially Gonzaga, you just cannot take Gonzaga. Gonzaga has too good of a chance to make the Elite 8. You just can't take them.
Or to lose right now.
And that's the thing.
Right,
it doesn't even matter if they lose. It might knock out 8% of the field.
Yeah.
So the 3 teams I really like are Texas Tech, St. John's, and Wisconsin.
Love it.
So
Wisconsin, I think it's a different day, isn't it? Oh no, you're right. Wisconsin is today. Right. I forgot to mention that. What are these? Wait,
I started this strategy 2 years ago. I did this again. I'm not playing this year, but the first 3 years I did this, we didn't go this type of route. Then I realized it was the year that St. Mary's was a 7 or a 10, and they played like Arizona or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, maybe like, wait a minute, they're only going to be like a 4-point favorite. Wait, we should start doing that. Why not just pick these 16-point favorites and then just pick them, and then just pick the underdog in the second round?
Yeah.
Because you're getting like a 90+% in some of these cases, and then big deal. Texas Tech is playing. Let's start with Texas Tech. Texas Tech is the bottom left.
Yep.
They are a 15.5-point favorite. Okay, Missouri. Okay, Missouri's very chalky too. I definitely would not take.
I have none of them.
Okay, I got to put that in that category. Missouri is another team that you do not want to take because a lot of people are going to take them. They have a very reasonable chance of beating Texas Tech.
Yep.
So if you don't take my strategy would be take Texas Tech and then just take Missouri the next round. Now, but another strategy could be you take you just hope Missouri makes the Elite 8, and then the Missouri people get boxed out at some point. Again, I'm just going on KenPom numbers, and this doesn't mean this is what the spread is going to be. But Texas Tech is 28 rating, and Missouri's 24. So I'll take a 16-point favorite and then like a 2 or 4-point dog in the second round.
Well, here,
St. John's is a great one too. I mean, 18.5-point favorites, and Kansas sucks this year, but they're 4.5-point favorites, and then they would be near pick'em against St. John's. So that's like a slam dunk for me too. And then the last one is Wisconsin. This same idea.
Yep.
They're 17-point favorites, and they'll be BYU. I would turn again when I'm picking these teams. If the favorites win that they're going to play against, I'm going to pick the favorite the next game. I'd pick Missouri to win the next round. I pick Kansas to win the next round. I pick BYU. Now, if the other team won, like if Kansas lost to Arkansas, I probably wouldn't pick Arkansas to beat St. John's. I'd probably just work somewhere else and then hope that St. John's doesn't make the Final Four, and do something different.
This next comment I'm going to make is something you guys should think about. it's not as important round 1 and 2. It becomes very important rounds 3 and 4, but it's something that Mike alluded to sort of is if you're in a situation where you only have a couple of choices and you have like a favorite playing an underdog, right? And you already used the favorite or whatever, and they're like an 8 point favorite, and you need the underdog to win like anyway, you may as well pick them. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
see
for later on, for sure.
for
Yeah,
later, for
absolutely.
later
Because
on.
otherwise, if you pick another favorite, you're also going to need the
Exactly.
other thing to win.
Exactly. That's you'll see sometimes you'll have a choice in two teams, like two pick'em teams, or like a 7 point underdog, and you're like, oh, you know what? Let me pick the pick'em game. But then think about it. The 7 point underdog needs to win for you anyway. Why not just take the 7 point underdog and then you don't care who wins the other one for you?
Correct. Especially if the result of the other game didn't matter. Now, if you
Exactly.
needed the same result from each, it's different.
That's right. That's
But
right.
if the result from the other game doesn't matter, you may as well leave that game open and then just take the underdog because you need the underdog regardless, or you're going to get boxed out anyway at some
Okay.
point.
So moving to Friday, I hope you guys are seeing that there's a kind of a theme here, and I think that you're going to see very similar type of takes for both of us. First of all, what was already, I think, a smash play is now become probably even smasher, and that would be Iowa State. So Iowa State, they're like a big 15 point favorite, and they were already like rated to not be that big of a favorite in the second round. But seeing how good UNC looked,
Yeah.
I mean, they might not even be favored over UNC. So they'll probably be really chalky. But Iowa State certainly looks like a smash play. Same thing, by the way, with respect to Marquette, New Mexico. I'm not playing either of these guys. Okay, and likewise in the top. Where's the? Oh, we'll get to the other 8, 9 in a minute. But I am going to same thing. I'm playing some Michigan State. I mean, they're an enormous favorite round 1. Round 2, okay, they'll be a small favorite, but not that big of a deal. In the bottom left, I have 0 UConn or Oklahoma. Okay. Same thing. These 8, 9s are usually pretty decent fades. What I probably have too much of from this next group here, I have a little too much Colorado State, I think. I don't know why I have so much of that, but I am getting a bunch of it.
Hmm.
And I'm also, I mean, clearly I'm getting some Maryland also. So Maryland I have, and Colorado State I also have. On the right side of the board, uh, I have, just for lack of other options, I have a ton of Kentucky. Um, they're like the only ones from this division that, you know what I mean? Remember, they're the only
Yeah.
group playing on this day. So I like that. And then I like your boys. I do have some St. Mary's. I like that. I don't have any of the 8, 9 Mississippi State Baylor. Again, same concept. Try to fade those. But I will have some of the Oregon, Arizona. So this is my approach: is try my best to fade the 8, 9s, and play the others.
Yeah, I think Friday is much less obvious of like what direction people are going to go. Like Gonzaga, UCLA, Missouri are going to be super chalky on Thursday, which is really nice. But I outside of UConn, UConn is just you just can't pick UConn. They're going to be just hope Oklahoma wins. Um, but I would never take Florida just because they'd be way too big of a favorite versus the whoever they play from the 8, 9. So UConn falls into the chalk category for sure. But some of the other ones are a little bit tougher. I don't really see very many other ones like that are like fringe. I agree. I think you said Iowa State is going to be very chalky, 100%. But I would just take them anyway.
Yeah.
I think the best pick is Kentucky.
Yeah, it has to be, right?
I just and you're picking a team from that. There's only one. My brain doesn't.
Yeah.
It's very hard to think about this. I think it's good to pick the team that only has one game,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
for that region for that day. I also really like I really like Arizona. I don't like Oregon though. I think Oregon is going to be very, very chalky.
Yeah.
I don't know what the spread's going to be. I mean, for the second round, first I was we can look at the spreads, but they're different conferences now. They forgot about that. I really like Arizona. Arizona's a 26 on KenPom rating, and then Oregon's 20. So I assume it's going to be a 3 or 4 point spread, but I'd much rather have a 14-point favorite in the first round than a 7. So I think Oregon will be pretty chalky. I prefer Alabama over St. Mary's.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay.
Just because I'd rather just pick St. Mary's in the second round.
Okay.
And Alabama's, I mean, that's such a big favorite. I mean, how many 23-point favorites have ever lost in the tournament? That sounds very fishy where I said that. They're well over 90% to win. And at that point, I'd rather just, eat it the second round and pick St. Mary's. But what you have to do, what I've not gone into doing, because I'm not actually playing this, is looking at the top right bracket. I've talked about, let me see. I want to make sure I say this right. We got the top right region there. You got to be a little careful because we talked about really liking Wisconsin.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I have a bunch of both Wisconsin and BYU. I want to play that game.
Yeah. But also I'm talking about Alabama, St. Mary's. We're talking about as well, and it's
right.
But if you hit that exact quadrant, perfect.
Yeah.
Like if you go Alabama, St. Mary's, and you go Wisconsin, BYU.
Hang on one second. Hello. Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
So this is a very precise. There's no room for error here. But I kind of like this strategy, especially in very massive pools, because if you hit something like this, actually, so this is just right off the cuff, but identifying this section where there's only, so the top right region, there's only there's only 2 Thursday games out of 8.
Yeah.
And then the bottom right, there's 1 Friday game out of it. I really like if you hit Alabama losing to St. Mary's in the second round, and then you hit BYU beating Wisconsin in the second. Wisconsin, that gets you through the weekend, and you have the entire rest of the entire bracket wide open.
Yeah,
you're literally you actually can't get boxed out ever, because now you have to hit it precisely, but you have to win 4 games anyway.
Right.
Now, the downside is if Vanderbilt or VCU win, are you going to want to take those teams?
Well, so what? I mean,
it probably doesn't matter. I mean, you're in a big pool. You would only be picking those teams, and then what you would do is, all right, whoever comes out of Duke, Oregon, Arizona, you just pick that team to beat, St. Mary's or BYU. And you literally can't get boxed out. As long as you win that game, you're fully protected. So I think that's a really good box-proof strategy. And then if you lose, you're just out. Who cares? Just enjoy the rest of the tournament.
So
now I almost want to buy in, because I think that's a good strategy for a big pool.
Now that everything's on Splash, also you can just buy it. Just buy whatever you want. It's like you don't even have to be invited to these pools anymore.
Yeah.
You got to play something. You got to play at least.
Well, fuck. I mean, I think that's a pretty good strategy. I mean, looking at the bottom, could you do the same thing there? Yeah. You have Illinois beating Kentucky. You can pick. Actually, I guess you could have Tennessee and then just hope that they lose to UCLA.
Yeah.
The idea here is you just do not want. This is what you don't want to do. And I'm very, very confident of this. You don't want to be picking a route where you have Florida in the finals against Houston. Yeah, you might win if it hits, but if there's 1,000 people, 40 people might be chopping. Are you sure
about this? Okay, because I mentioned this, and you keep telling me that these things chop, and I never see multiple people win.
So the second year we did it, when Virginia beat Auburn, no one made it to the final game. If Auburn beat Virginia, we would have chopped it like 19 ways or something because everybody would have been boxed out.
Well, the good news is, by the way, is that if you get to the final 16, and again, same like any survivor pool, you'll be able to see the board and you'll be able to predict pretty easily who everybody's taking.
Correct. But and when you get there, like I like for NFL, I like to work backwards.
Right.
And it's a matter of opinion where I should start.
Right.
In March Madness Survivor, it is a matter of fact. You have to start from the finals and work backwards.
Right.
And you should never go forwards. If you make it through the opening weekend, you have to find your optimized run out, starting with the finals, working backwards. And you can find a few different routes, but you have to do it that way because if you don't, you might make some really like when Eric said that he spent all this time. It's one thing to lose, but when you lose because you messed up,
that's right.
It's very, very frustrating.
Now a couple of follow-ups,
and that's why the EV in this has to be a lot higher than NFL. It's magnitudes higher because
it's so hard. Mistakes. It's so hard. So a couple of follow-ups. Number one is as far as a follow-up to this. Okay, unfortunately, again, I'm going to be in Scottsdale Saturday morning. So after the first two rounds, we're not going to be able to do a follow-up, but I will be back by Wednesday. So if I'm, whether I'll have hopefully something alive, but so when, like this time, hopefully, I don't know if this time again is good for you. I don't know if days work, but if we could do this again next Wednesday, well, with the next round, the 16 and 8, that would be great. The other thing is that as he mentioned, depending on the rules of your pool, it depends on when you should be putting your picks in. Like some pools let you wait until how do you describe this? Until the last possible game can be picked from that day before you pick, so you can get to free roll and take a look at some other results or something like that.
No, it's incredible. I mean, the way I'm just going to look to see if anything sticks out if you play something like that. But the time of the game matters the most.
Right.
So, as an example, okay, I'm just going to look at the second game. High Point plays Purdue at 11:40. So, my general thought would be you don't really want to pick something early in the day because you have more information if you pick later in the day. So, if High Point is beating or is going to beat Purdue or might beat Purdue, and you have a pick coming up, you don't want to be picking the 5-12 game.
Right. You don't pick Clemson. Right. Exactly.
You don't want to be picking the 5-12 game at all. It's just too risky. And if somehow Houston loses to Edwardsville, do not pick that 9-8 game.
That's right.
Just don't do it. And the strategy would be don't pick it and then hope the 9 or 8 seed makes the Final Four because everyone's going to pick the 9-8 team to beat that team in the second round.
So for pools like that let you do that, unfortunately, the spreadsheet's got to be augmented to start times.
Yeah, 100%. The start times matter, but you can always default toward waiting to see what's going on. And that San Diego State game, this is a good part for me to close with because this is what I opened with.
Yeah,
we were sweating that game out because we were never gonna take Creighton, but I think our pick was gonna be based on maybe something else.
Yeah,
depending on that result. And it was kind of starting soon. There's a chance if it went to overtime, we were going to have to make our pick, hoping that, San Diego State would win. Now, we didn't end up winning that year, but we ended up giving ourselves a lot. The Miami result was the one that knocked us out. But we gave ourselves – I don't even care because we faded the right games. The run out, became very optimal for us. We had multiple ways to win. We had a way to scoop without even getting to the championship game. and in a pool that started with 500 people. That's pretty insane to even have that opportunity.
Yeah,
So
I closed
the
out mine.
rules are extremely important.
Yeah,
Make sure you read the rules very
yeah,
carefully.
I closed out mine last year because of the rule you said. I was the only one that could make a Final Four pick. Everybody else thought, you know what? Let me just try to get through eight and hope everybody loses. I was the only one that's left, not a Final Four pick, a Final Two pick.
I prefer that rule. I like when a possible pick beats
Yeah.
a
Oh,
lost
because
pick.
you did better. Exactly.
You did better. Well, unfortunately, I didn't read the rules once for Survivor Pool in NFL, and I thought we won, but
I know.
we were still playing for 40,000 because we had to win the Super Bowl in order to scoop the whole thing. We ended up winning the Super Bowl, but I thought we'd already won. Make sure you read your rules and really don't make these picks just quickly. Like I tell my daughter when we're working on a jigsaw puzzle, if you get frustrated, look to a different part of the puzzle. This is what I tell her. And then if you're still frustrated, walk away from it and just come back later with a fresh
And
mind.
not only that, but also,
you have to do that with this.
But also, depending on what type of puzzle maker you are, you start with the corners and you start with the outside. You know what I mean? And you fill it in like as you go along. Like you said, you don't want Florida, Alabama in the finals or whatever, whoever you said, whatever.
But my prediction is going to be that Gonzaga, one of those three teams, especially if two of them, if the two teams in the bottom right, if like UCLA and Gonzaga make a run, that's going to make it very less choppy, regardless of who wins, because that's going to just box, especially if at least one of them make the Elite Eight, because it forces a lot of people onto one other path. But I think Gonzaga is a very good automatic fade because a lot of people are going to pick them. But if they win and they win twice or three times, it's going to force a lot of people onto a different path than yours. And the deeper you get into this, it's forcing them onto one or two. There might only be three paths left. And if you're on the path that has that, more unique team available for later, that will serve you really well if that team keeps winning.
Okay, a couple of announcements. One, didn't even mention TrueDFS. So we have the Survivor Pool Discord, TrueDFS, if you're a member over there. Feel free to post wherever you want in there. I love the conversation. Unfortunately, again, like this weekend, I'm a little out of it. But I will post to I can't post to I have so many teams. You know what I mean? I told you guys who I'm rooting for. But here's one thing for sure. Like after this weekend, like if you guys want to ask our opinions if you play this stuff.
That would be fun. Yeah.
That's totally fine. But you've got to almost always post your whole grid in the Discord. Like I don't want to hear, oh, I have A&M and whatever next. You know what I mean? That's not relevant. You know what I mean? So but we'll deal with that. You think you're good for Wednesday?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. And
excellent.
We didn't talk about this, but make sure that your Thursday and Friday picks make sense. Picking within the same region gets very
dicey.
Very dicey. So it's better to go let's say if you're on the left side for one color.
Oh, I would try. Yeah, I try to pair, for example, my Wisconsins with my Marylands, for example. You know what I mean? Really try to keep right away from each other as much as possible.
But I think the exception is if they're right next to each other like that, the top right region.
Yeah.
I think that's okay because it forces your next picks.
That's true.
And as long as you follow through with that, you don't put yourself in any precarious positions because either it works or you're out. You're not going to advance and be fading multiple. You want to fade as few games as possible. Remember, you want to fade as few games as possible. So even though it might sound crazy what I was saying about that top right region, that would not require any other additional wins to come into your necessity. Because again, once you pick a team, you need them to lose as quickly as possible. If they keep winning, eventually you're going to get boxed out.
Okay, so again, the rule is you might get boxed out, but don't let it be your fault.
Correct.
All right. Good luck, everybody, and good to talk to you, Mike. And I'll see you soon.
Go Gales.
Okay, later.